Sir, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, good evening.
Sir, today is our last session.
Yeah, yeah. But a chapter that came in between, almost at the center of the book.
Yeah.
Mm.
But it is very interesting, and if it comes in between, doesn't matter. So, sir,
Uh,
we'll exactly start at 8.
yeah, we will start exactly at 8 o'clock. Dr. Sain is there, or today he will be busy?
Sir, Dr. Sain Paul is not available today.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. I just asked. Mm.
You are Dr. Sayandas, yeah?
Yes, yes, yes.
He is there. His name is also Dr. Sayan.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I have been hosting these. Uh, I think on some of the days, Sain Paul has chips in as well.
okay.
So
So, Sain Das is from which place?
I am from Kolkata.
Okay. And what about Dr. Rashi?
Sir, I am from UP. Now
Okay.
I am working in Max Hospital, Vaishali.
Oh, okay. Here in Delhi. Okay.
Yeah, I am Delhi. So, Dr. Sayan, should I start?
Uh, yes, I think yes, we can start. It's 8 o'clock. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So, as we all know, it is our last class, and I know these classes are seen afterwards in YouTube. And it's my proud privilege to invite Dr. T. Ganesh. He is Chief Medical Physicist in Manipal Hospital, Dwarika, Delhi. And as we all have attended earlier classes, also, he is a renowned speaker, and we can easily understand physics by him. He's a great teacher. So thank you, sir. You have accepted our invitation to take this class. Thank you so much. Now I would like to hand over this session to you.
Yeah. Uh, Thank you very much, Dr. Rashi. And it's once again a great pleasure to join all of you in this Khan's book lecture series. And incidentally, this is going to be the last lecture in this series. And I'm happy that I will be taking this TBA technique. Let me first share my screen. Mm, just 1 second. Fine.
Yeah, it is visible.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
So let's start with this 18th chapter in the Khan's book on total body radiation. And to be honest, when this topic was given to me, I felt happy because, uh, for some few reasons. This is one of the topics that I was not exposed to during my 22 years of experience at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. For some strange reason, we never practiced this total body radiation at All India Institute throughout my stay there. And even after I moved to Saudi Arabia for the first 3 years, I never had a chance to work or practice this total body radiation technique. It was only after 3 years when Dr. Wamid Abdul Rahman, who joined that hospital as the senior consultant and the chief medical physicist in the center where I was working. He is a double board certified physicist, one of the greatest physicists I have ever seen, a greatest clinical physicist. And not only that, he is a great teacher. And he was the person who taught me everything about total body radiation. And also I learned from him several techniques, and most important, the technique that we followed there in Saudi Arabia clinic, and as well as later on when I moved to Fortis Hospital here in Delhi, we followed the same technique. So now in this lecture, we shall be covering, this is one topic which is one of the shortest topics. just about 7 or 8 pages in the book. So what we will do is that just we will go along the book, what it says, basics of the total body irradiation we will see, and followed by some of the technical aspects of this technique. Then the book is from Khan. Khan was working at the University of Minnesota. So obviously this University of Minnesota technique finds long mention in that chapter. So we will see that in University of Minnesota technique, followed by most important thing that, which I want to convey. I will tell you about what are the resources required for establishing a TBA program in a clinic, and the technique that we practiced in Saudi and as well as in Fortis. Not that I want to emphasize on the technique that I am familiar with, or that we practiced in the centers, but what I want to tell through focusing on the technique that we implemented is that I want to tell the people that how important this topic is, and what are the things that one should focus and what one should not do. Importantly, what how one should not rush to implement this important technique. So to start with the basics of TBI, total body irradiation, TBI is a special radiotherapy technique that delivers a uniform dose to patient's whole body. And we intend to deliver a dose that is within plus minus 10% of the prescribed dose to the entire body. That is the kind of dose variation that we are expecting. And in broader sense, TBI techniques encompass irradiation of the whole body, half body irradiation, and total nodal irradiation. Just one more thing, most of the slides, about nearly 20 slides or so from my presentation is actually from Dr. Wamid. Uh, Let me change to laser pointer. So historically, if we look at it, the first TBI was reported as early as 1927. And in 1932, there was a dedicated TBI facility in North America. And then in 1950s and 1960s, several multiple source irradiators were constructed by the US government. And 1957, the bone marrow transplantation was reported. And in 1958, one can find a mention about the dual source cobalt irradiator that was used in TBI. And subsequently, 4 poster bed and long-term control of malignancies were reported in the literature. So these are some of the historical developments in TBI. Clinical TBI categories, this particular slide and some of the subsequent slides, I don't have to tell more about it. You as doctors, you know very well, much better than me. But just for completion's sake, I will just go through these slides. So the TBI categories, high dose TBI with a dose delivery in a single session, dose 7.5 to 9 gray, or in up to 6 fractions of 2 gray each in 3 days, 6 fractions, 12 gray. In low dose TBI, we deliver a dose of 10 to 15 centigrade in 10 to 15 fractions. And in half body radiation, we deliver a dose of 8 gray delivered to the upper or lower half of the body in just a single session. Total nodal irradiation with a typical total nodal dose of 40 gray is delivered in 20 fractions. Diseases treated with TBI. TBI is used, as we all know, primarily as a part of preparatory cytoreductive conditioning regimen prior to bone marrow transplantation. And it is given before engraftment of donor bone marrow. Pre-transplant conditioning is applied to eradicate the tumor cells and or cells with genetic disorders. And the conditioning regimen may be based on chemotherapy alone. However, the most common pre-transplant conditioning is a combination of both high-dose chemotherapy and as well as TBI. And TBI results in immunosuppression, which helps preventing the failure of the graft And diseases treated with BMT are various types of leukemia like these, malignant lymphoma and aplastic anemia. High-dose TBA has been used as adjuvant therapy in the treatment of Weaving sarcoma and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Low-dose TBA has been used in the treatment of lymphocytic, lymphocytic, lymphocytic leukemia, lymphoma, and neuroblastoma. Total nodal irradiation is used as adjuvant treatment of autoimmune diseases. Let's see some of the technical aspects. Currently, almost all of the TV techniques use mega voltage photon beams that are either produced by a cobalt 60 machine or by linear accelerators. And while some of the centers perform TBA procedures on specially designed machines, dedicated treatment rooms, so we are going to see some of them, specially designed machine installed in dedicated treatment rooms. But a vast majority of the TBAs are performed with the standard radiotherapy equipment in standard treatment rooms. The beams used for TBA are either they can be stationary with field sizes of the order of 70 centimeter by 200 centimeters square to encompass the whole patient, or the beams can be moving with the smaller field sizes in some sort of translational or rotational motion to cover the whole patient with the radiation beam. So either stationary beam or moving beam, both type of beams have been used in TBI. Usually, we prefer to follow a parallel opposed setup. Parallel opposed irradiations are used by delivering each fractional dose in two equal installments, like half of the dose delivered in the AP mode and half of it in the PA, or bilateral, half of the dose in the left and half of the dose in the right. So by switching the patient's position between the two installments in a single session. Let's see some of the examples how historically TBA has been done. In the 1960, Oak Ridge Institute of Nuclear Studies, at that time it was called as ORINS, standing for Oak Ridge Institute of Nuclear Studies. Currently, it is Oak Ridge Associated University since 1966. So in 1960, they had developed this method with 8 sources placed in the room. So patient would lie in a uniform density bed at the center of the room and receive a controlled amount of radiation emitted from 8 500 curie cesium-137 source with filters located at each corner of the room. So you can see the mirror. Here is the patient lying, and on the mirror you can see the patient. So the room had 8 sources in the 8 corners, uniformly irradiating the patient's body. 2 linear accelerators mounted in such a way so that they produce 2 parallel opposed beams treating the patient simultaneously. So inside a pit, one linear accelerator, and then one above irradiating the patient simultaneously. This is the most often used one, treatment at extended source to surface distance, with the patient either standing upright in this position or patient lying supine or prone or sideways. So in this way also one can treat the patient at extended SST either by APPA or by lateral, or even when the patient is lying in the supine position, or the patient may be asked to lie in the sideways position, once again treating APPA. At MSKCC, patient is treated while standing like this inside this special stand, and it requires a TBA support frame. There is a stand, there is a bicycle seat. You can see here the patient will sit here and with the grips. So patient will have some grips to hold with the hands. Thorax immobilization is done by fixing onto the plate, and shielding of critical organs and boosting by electrons are done. Shielding of the critical organs are done by lung blocks of half HVL, and boost of the chest wall is done by electrons. So this is how the MSKCC center technique is done. Even now, such type of uh, uh, support frames and this kind of stand is available commercially, and that comes at a cost of something like close to around 6 to 7 lakhs about 3 4 years ago. I do not know now what is the price. So you can see here the patient sitting on that cycle seat, and you can see patient is holding the grip, and patient is now being irradiated in the PA position. At McGill, this is one of the techniques that they have followed. We are going to see yet another technique, McGill, in detail. But this is one of the techniques. So you can see here, this is a dedicated unit, not used for conventional treatment. This is a dedicated unit in a dedicated room, exclusively meant for TBI technique only. Patient is going to lie down either in the supine position or in the prone position on the floor at extended SSD. So it requires a mattress on the floor and a freestanding frame to support the lung shields. You can see here the patient is lying here in the prone position, and you can see the lung shields placed on a freestanding. This is the freestanding support frame to place the lung shields. There is another complicated technique called as the translational technique. That is, the patient will move through the beam. See here, beam is stationary, and the patient is made to lie on a kind of rolling or moving trolley kind of thing, uh, installed on a very special couch. So this will be moved along rails at a uniform speed. So it is used in small treatment rooms where it is not possible to achieve large field sizes. It's quite costly. Commercially, such type of solutions are available, and you will be astonished in the next slide we are going to see. You will be astonished at the price of such a unit that are commercially available from Germany. It is costing around 130,000 euros, or something close to 1.2 crore of rupees. Custom shields can be used here, and it requires syncing with the LINAC. When you are moving at a constant speed, uniform speed, it has to be synchronized with the LINAC beam on and beam off. So that's why you can see here the cables are running, and the several are it has to be installed in a proper way to sync with the LINAC. You can see this is the commercial solution that is available right now in Germany. You can see the installation, and this is from a particular company called here it is. You can find information from this email address and the phone, and it is used in small treatment rooms. So you can see the moving couch is placed on the floor here. There is a sweeping beam technique with a column mounted LINAC, and requires a specially designed unit, either a column mounted LINAC or a cobalt unit. You can see here, so this head will swive. It is called head swivel. So it can sweep, like the picture shows, from this position where the beam is pointed in this direction. It can move to this direction to direct the beam in this dotted along these dotted lines. So the beam is swept through the beam, irradiating all parts of the body uniformly. Another example is the treatment room is located at one room, and the patient, in order to achieve an extended SST of, say, like 5.1 meter with a source to detector distance of 6 meters, patient can be made to lie in another room which is located above the treatment room. So this is also possible, and this has also been practiced. The University of Minnesota technique, which finds detailed mention in the Kahn's book, it consists of a special couch with the back supported. We will see in the next picture. You can see here the patient's back is supported with this couch. Uh, and the legs are collapsed in this manner, and arms are laterally positioned to follow the body contour. So just along the body contour, the arms are positioned, shadowing the lungs. Distances are measured between the external bony landmarks. You can see here what is the this particular length of the feet, and what is from this point to this point, what is the distance. So all these measurements, you see here the gap, all these measurements are measured or noted on a paper, and they are followed for each fraction of the treatment. Now, why these measurements are done? Like at the feet, the body thickness is very less when the beam is coming from lateral direction. So you need a maximum compensator thickness, and then here in the leg, the compensator thickness is varying like this. So like this, when you measure these distances, you can fabricate the compensator. So the compensator thickness is designed based on the measurements obtained. So the patient lies here, and uh, the treatment distance from the source to body midplane distance is 411 centimeter. The compensator is designed on the protocol requirement. TBA protocols require, as we had already seen, plus minus 10% dose uniformity, and that is why we require compensators to compensate for varying thickness of the body at each point. So compensator design for TBA is quite complicated due to large variations that we see across the entire body, and also because of the fact that we are not going to use any kind of improvised immobilization devices, and the tissue heterogeneities that we see from head to toe. So many heterogeneities are there. So for all these things make a compensator design quite complicated for a TBA technique. And thickness along a ray line, how much of compensator thickness that we have to use, that is calculated along each and every ray line. So a ray is considered from the source to the midplane inside the body, and along that ray, how much is the tissue deficit is calculated, and compensator material. So the thickness of the compensator depends on the tissue deficit along that line. What is the compensator material that we are going to use? That is the density of the compensator material that is used. What is the depth of the point of dose compensation? At what depth are we talking about the dose compensation? What is the field size that we have employed, and what is the beam energy? So all these factors will affect the thickness of the compensators. Compensator, in a way, as you might have heard from the previous classes, they are equivalent to bolus. The only difference is that the bolus is placed on the body. However, the compensators are placed away from the body, which means bolus will add to the scatter, but however, compensator will not add to the scatter. So that is why the bolus thickness is not equivalent to the compensator thickness corrected for density. So compensator thickness is less just to account for the fact that there is no scattered radiation coming from the compensator, because it is placed far away from the body. That will, the scatter part which would have been otherwise present in the bolus, that would be missed in the case of compensator. So compensator thickness will be less, and this thickness ratio, that is what thickness that we require with compensator to what thickness we would require with bolus. So that ratio is the tau ratio or thickness ratio. That is calculated, and based on that the compensators are calculated. In 2008, I was fortunate to visit University of Minnesota, where Dr. Khan was working, but even at that time Dr. Khan has retired, and he used to come once in a while. So you can see here the compensators made of very high quality aluminum in a very smooth way. You can see the compensators placed here and also here, and these compensators are attached to the plate, the trays, in this way using very special form of clips. So they are attached to this Electa machine. And they used a beam spoiler. You can see here the label on this beam spoiler. You can see here 6 MB X-rays and as well as total skin electrons. So this is a 1 centimeter thick acrylic which is placed or fixed on a frame that can be moved around the room. You can see here the wheels. So 1 centimeter thick lucite or acrylic to produce the beam spoiling or to build up the dose. So you can see, so the department was kind enough in not only allowing us to watch the treatment, but also they were kind enough to allow us to take even pictures. So actually this is the patient who was receiving the treatment during our visit, and you can see this is how the patient receives the treatment. You can compare these pictures later on with the pictures that are in the book. So what are the resources that we require for establishing a TBI in any clinic? So which technique that you are going to choose among the host of techniques that we have got depends on the resources. That is, what are the available equipment, what is the time that is available with us, the photon beam energy that are available to you, whether both 6 and high energy X-rays are available or only low energy X-rays are available, treatment room design and size, patient position, patient dimensions, immobilization, treatment distance, importantly dose rate. If you go through the literature, there is a lot of literature, available on the dose rate. Conventionally, the dose rate at which that we have to deliver the dose to patients in TBI is that it should be around 10 centigrade per minute. In fact, even less than 10 centigrade per minute. That is the requirement. Any dose rate higher than 10 centigrade per minute has been associated with unacceptable lung toxicities, pulmonary toxicities. So we have to ensure that the dose rate has to be less than 10 centigrade per minute. However, with the modern techniques like VMAT and uh, the tomotherapy technique, the dose rates have far exceeded the values. Uh, Perhaps because we are able to spare the lungs to a large extent, and that is why these dose rates in the modern machines are not being associated with any uh, lung toxicities. And another important factor is the maximum possible field size. We are going to see what is meant by maximum possible field size, and also the need to selectively shield certain body structures. You also have to look into physics support. A very strong physics support is required, and treatment accuracy and reproducibility, and also workload. I still remember when in Saudi they told very clearly that if you don't have a workload of less than about 5 patients or 6 patients in a month, then perhaps it is not that worth to start this type of services. Choice of a particular technique depends on the resources. APPA technique is preferable because of better uniformity. That is because in the APPA direction, there is no any great variation in the body dimensions. Of course, there are variations, but it is not as great as the bilateral parallel opposed technique. However, bilateral parallel opposed technique is more comfortable for the patient. That's because patient is going to be seated or lying down. Most often, the patient will be lying down flat on a tabletop. However, the problem here is that the dose uniformity may not be good due to the large variation in the body thickness along the path of the beam. Now, which energy should we use? I would like to stress the importance of figure 11.11. See, there are some figures, some important figures in Kahn's book, which young radiation oncologists should never forget. And I would pick some 6 or 7 figures out of Kahn book. And one such figure is this particular one. So this is figure 11.11 from 11th chapter. And what it says is that as the patient thickness increases, what is the ratio of the maximum dose, that is maximum dose, the dose to peripheral structures to mid-plane dose. So at 15 centimeter or 20 centimeter, there is not big variation between the mid-plane structure dose to the peripheral dose. But beyond 25 centimeter, if you are using only cobalt 60, you can see here there is a tremendous increase in the peripheral dose. So you have to be pretty careful. So what this particular graph tells us is that as the patient separation increases, it is not advisable to treat the patient by simple parallel opposed technique, especially with low energy radiations like cobalt 60 or 4 MB, or for that matter 6 MB. So same thing is repeated here in this chapter also, 18.1, that is in the TBA chapter. The only thing is that this one cobalt 60, this is for 80 centimeter, and this graph it is for 150 centimeter SST, and this graph is for 300 centimeter SST. So what does this mean? As the SST increases, we know the PDD will increase, and hence mid-plane structure will receive higher percentage depth dose. So that is why this ratio is becoming better. But still, at a larger separation, the dose variation is quite high. You can see here this is the ratio. This is 20%. So the variation that you can accept is here up to within this box. So what it indirectly tells us is that as the patient thickness increases beyond 25, we have to be careful, and we have to pay close attention to this dose to the peripheral structures. And as regarding the buildup, the surface dose in megavoltage beams is less than the dose at the maximum, at the point of maximum dose. We know, you have already seen in the previous lectures, there is a buildup, and whatever buildup data that we have measured at 100 centimeter, this is what usually we measure. So whatever data that we have measured at 100 centimeter is not anymore valid at extended SSTs, because patients will be treated at very large extended SSTs. At these distance, you will have to re-measure the build-up pattern. So TBA protocols, however, the TBA protocols don't require skin sparing. So you not only have to measure the build-up curve, how it looks like, but you have to ensure that the skin is not spared, because TBA protocols don't require the skin sparing. So in order to produce enough dose to the superficial structures, beam spoiler is used. Often it is made up of acrylic, 1 to 2 centimeter thick acrylic, that is used to bring the dose to at least 90% of the prescribed dose. Room design and size. If a clinic is planning to implement the TBI, it will be better to think at the time of room design, that is even before the bunker is built, because room design and what kind of room size that you have at your disposal, that play critical roles in a TBI program. First of all, a large treatment room allows for treatment at extended distance with a single large field. And secondly, I don't think that any center in India has got this kind of arrangement. But however, in the center that I was working in Saudi Arabia, I was fortunate to see this kind of setup in both the treatment rooms. We had an op-centered treatment unit offering a longer TBA distance instead of one installed at the center of the room, that is installed symmetrically. What do I mean by this? Let us have a look at this. So this is the typical bunker diagram. This is in our clinic right now in Manipal Hospital, and you can see here, this is the isocenter and this is the primary wall. So when the beam is pointing, see, you can see here the divergent beam. So from the isocenter to the primary wall, what is the distance? It is 340 centimeters in this direction, and then in this direction also you can see here 340 centimeter. or 3400 mm. So from isocenter, the primary walls are placed at equal distances, or the unit is installed symmetrically in a room. Now, compared to this, look at the in the previous one. Let me just highlight one more thing. So here is the control room. We enter the treatment room like this. We walk through the maze and we enter the bunker here. So the unit is here, and in the horizontal direction, when it is pointing to the primary walls, the distance from the isocenter to the primary wall is equal. Here 340 and here 340. But look at this diagram where I was working in Saudi Arabia. So you can see here, this is the entrance to the bunker, the maze area. When we enter like this, we see here, this is the primary wall and this is the primary wall. The machine is installed here. So when the machine is right now, the machine is shown with the gantry at 270-degree position pointing to this wall. So what is this distance? You can see here, this distance here, this green color, it is only 310 centimeters. From isocenter to the primary wall, only 310 centimeters. However, when the gantry is at 90 degrees, here pointing to this wall, the distance from the isocenter to the primary wall is 450 centimeters. This is from isocenter. So from the source, it is 550 centimeter. You see here, the biggest advantage is that you will be able to treat the patients without any problem at all. Any tall patient, even adult patient also can be treated without any problem because of this asymmetrical placement of the treatment unit inside the bunker. And you also have to take into consideration the treatment room usage, 1 hour per fraction, beam on time 20 minutes. At least you need 1 hour per fraction, and beam on time usually within this 1 hour will be around 20 minutes, and you will have to treat 2 fractions a day, and that requires a great amount of coordination with anesthesia if you are going to treat pediatric patients with this technique. And this can hinder throughput of the normal patients. And as I told already, the dose rate should be approximately 10 centigrade per minute. Once somebody is talking. One another important point, you all know, once the TBA treatment has started, it must be completed without any break. So you must have a backup treatment unit that must be there in your clinic in case a machine goes down. Let's say that patient has to be treated for 6 fractions. You start 2 fractions are given and suddenly machine goes down. What do? You will have to think of all possibilities and what kind of backup alternatives that you have got at your disposal. You will have to consider all of them. And anesthesia services can be quite demanding, monitoring you, because you need to monitor the vitals from outside for a long time, extended time like 1 hour, and you will need extra cameras to monitor the patient during the treatment. At Fortis, where I was working earlier, we had to install 2 cameras specially for this purpose before starting on the TBI program. Of course, this is from Saudi. And also you have to have in vivo dosimetry program properly commissioned. So you need to think of a suitable in vivo dosimetry system that should be available, and it should be commissioned properly for dose measurements. Commission means taking into consideration all the physics aspects. You will have to uh, uh, implement the in vivo dosimetry and validate it for this extended field dosimetry. It can be based on a TLD system or a diode system, or it can be based on ion chamber with the special buildup caps like this. or radiochromic film dosimetry, like this one. This is unexposed radiochromic film, and this is exposed radiochromic film, and we get the net optical density. So using the films also you can establish, depending on which technique that you decide to implement, the cost can be quite significant. So again, management has to be told about the costs involved. So TLD system or diode systems can be anything close to around 20 to 35 lakhs, depending on which uh, detectors that you choose. Like in the University of Minnesota technique, they followed the TLD. So you can see here the TLD capsules having the TLD powder, and they are inserted into this TLD reading system. This is a TLD reading system. This is the dryer, initially empty. So these exposed TLD capsules, the TLD powder is transferred onto this dryer here. You can see here empty, but here now filled with the TLD, and then it is closed, and after that the TLD signal will be read, and it will be you can see here so you can see here the TLD capsule being emptied onto the uh, dryer, and here a physicist is measuring the dose. So the dose is measured on a special computer based on the signal, and then the dosimetry is established. Now I will talk about the technique that we had followed in Saudi Arabia, and also we had established in Fortis, where I was working earlier. So it is a technique using bilateral parallel opposed large field at an extended SSD. The patient lies in the supine position inside a lucite box, and we use rice bolus to ensure that the patient dose within the entire body is uniform to within plus minus 10%. We use rice bolus, simple rice bolus, and it actually simplifies dosimetry, and it also immobilizes the patient. So when we use rice bolus, it not only helps us to simplify the dosimetry, but also it will help us in immobilizing the patient. So this is the wooden base plate. I will not go into full details, but I'll just give a broad overview. You can see the wooden base plate. You can see here the three slots over which the side walls of the lucite box will be uh, uh, slipped into. Uh, uh, See here grooves to hold the side walls, and these are the perspex sheets, and the side walls are installed here on the grooves, and this is how the box is made. You can see here the box, and we had rice bags to fill the box. So these are rice bags of different sizes filled with the simple rice, from largest size to very smallest size like this, in order to tightly pack the patient inside the box. And you need a very special structure. The height shall be adjustable, and you need a motorized structure, and it has to be firmly lockable, and it should have a broad base, because any if the structure is of small width, then patient can slip over. uh, Floor to trolley top height is usually 90 centimeter. You can check any trolley, usually from the floor to the top of the trolley, it will be 90 centimeter. However, floor to isocenter height is 130 centimeter in a variant machine and 125 centimeter in Electa machine. This is one thing that all radiation oncologists, physicists, and technologists should be knowing about. We call it as finished floor level, FFL. Finished floor level to isocenter height is 125 centimeter for Electa and 130 centimeter for variant machine, 129.5 plus minus half a centimeter. So this figure never forget. So if you are using a trolley, the top of the trolley is at 90 centimeter, but when patient is placed on the trolley, the patient height has to be raised so that patient mid plane is at 130 centimeter. That is an important requirement. So you need long broad thermocol sheets of high density like this, you can see here, in order to raise the height of the patient so that the patient mid plane can be placed at the center of the or at the isocenter height. So you can see here the patient is actually inside this box. You can see the raised backs nicely and tightly fitted into the box. That is, patient is inside the box and the side walls are there. The gap between the side walls and the patient, that is filled with rice bags of different sizes, tightly fitted in, so that the box resembles simple phantom. So you can see here the in vivo dosimetry cables running into the patient, and measurement of physics beam data. Whatever be the technique, it is not only important for this technique, but whichever technique that you are going to use, lot of physics beam data are to be measured, and these measurements are labor intensive. You can see our team, Dr. Wamid and another physicist, uh, we did measurements extending over several weeks in order to validate the technique of ion chamber based on film. Many things we did in order to validate it. So different phantoms we used, the slab phantom, the IMRT phantom, the thermocol sheets you can see in order to raise the height of the uh, chamber. So everything we used to validate it, and these were the kinds of the beam data that we had measured. Central axis depth dose, and when parallel opposed fields are used, then how the central axis depth dose will be along the mid plane. And also this is the profile along the long axis of the body. You can see here, this is along the head to toe direction. So the profile you can see here, this profile is at the Dmax level, and this profile is at the depth of the mid plane. So along the body long axis, when the beam enters the patient sideways, this is at the Dmax. From head to toe, the uniformity is maintained, and similarly at the mid plane, from head to toe, the uniformity is maintained. And this is across the body dimension, that is from left to right. Once again, the beam flatness, but here the beam flatness is not as good as along the head to toe direction because of the parallel opposed technique. You remember the hourglass type of distribution. So you can see here about 10% variation here along the uh, body short axis. So this is the irradiation box. You can see here the side walls. See here, this is the side wall, and the side walls are held by these plates. So you can see here the side walls, and the side separation can be adjusted. If the pediatric patient is there, smallest separation, but if bulky adult patients are there, then we can change the separation. Idea is to have minimum separation as much as possible. And there are plates to hold these side walls firmly, because when you place the rice bags tightly, then it is possible that the side walls will start bulging. So these plates will hold the side walls firmly in the place. So these are the rice bags, and you can see the forehead of the patient. So only the eyes will be visible, rest everything will be covered, and patient simply cannot move. So this is a very tight packing with the patient inside. Every gap is filled with the rice bag. So the box essentially just resembles a phantom. uh, there are some other points that are missing. I don't know what it is. Okay, anyway, I will so to summarize, TBI is a conditioning regimen for BMT for a variety of diseases. Let me just check once again. Okay, anyway, that is missing. The advantages of that technique which I had mentioned was that there are many advantages. Unlike many other techniques wherein you will have to fabricate a special compensator or special form of shielding and many other things, in that technique which I had just explained, when the patient comes, you will be able to take up the patient after explaining to the patient about the procedure. You will be able to treat the patient then and there immediately. All it requires is counseling of the patient, explaining to the patient about how the technique would be carried out. That's all. There is no need for any kind of extra measurements or fabrication of any other shieldings. You can immediately treat the patient. Very simple thing and easy even for accommodating the uh, uh, anesthesia requirements. In many ways, it is very simple to practice, and the physics is also very simple. The only disadvantage is that we will not be able to use any shieldings because the beam is entering laterally. We will not be able to use any shielding for the lung. Only the arm shielding we will have to rely on. So to summarize, TBA is a conditioning regimen for BMT for a variety of diseases. Multiple techniques are in use or in practice right now. I have not shown, again, just let me check. I had one slide, but that is not being shown. Yeah. So you can see here these couple of slides were hidden for some reason. You can see here the patient is lying on a specially fabricated, let me see. So this is a special kind of couch, and couch is at 90 degrees, and a rapid arc technique was used, or VMAT technique was used to plan this patient. A very complicated technique, but this is how this clinic has implemented TBA program. In another one, they have used 6 isocenter. You can see here 6 isocenters have been used in order to produce a uniform dose distribution. How they do is that they get a dose gradient like this, and because of this dose gradient, this technique is insensitive to any positional variation. So positional variation is not a big deal because of the dose gradient involved here. So this is the resultant dose distribution, very uniform dose, and it is not dependent significantly on the positional accuracy. However, 6 isocenters, so you can imagine how much time would it take to deliver this treatment. Similarly, this is from tomotherapy total nodal irradiation. You can see here how selectively you will be able to irradiate the bone marrow. They have to be contoured properly, and then treatment is given in one go in tomotherapy. Or this is a simple TBI, again delivered in tomotherapy. So this is a total nodal irradiation, and this is a TBI, both performed in the tomotherapy unit. So let's go back to the. So TBA is a conditioning regimen for BMT for a variety of diseases. Multiple techniques are in practice, as I had told, but none can be called as ideal. We cannot say that this is the best technique or this is the ideal technique. We simply cannot say. Each technique has its own pros and cons. That's due to the fact that there are inherent difficulties involved in irradiating as complex target as a human body. It's very difficult. So every technique, if it is superior in one aspect, in another aspect, it will be problematic. So the choice is based on multiple factors. You will have to look at several factors. What is the energy that you are having? What kind of support that you have got? What kind of measurements that you have performed? What kind of time you have got? Many other factors. All that I want to tell, I want to emphasize is that it needs pre-planning. So as I told, even at the time of bunker construction, you will have to if you are planning to do lot of TBI, you will have to place the machine in an off-centered position. So it needs pre-planning, it needs infrastructure. You have to invest quite a lot in terms of in vivo dosimetry and other special detectors, and you need a lot of coordination between your own team members and also with anesthesia. Most often you will be treating pediatric patients, so you need coordination with anesthesia people. You need time, lot of time on the machine. Each treatment would be at least 1 hour to 1.5 hours. Lot of efforts will go behind, lot of measurements are to be carried out, and last but not least, a strong physics support. They have to be confident in what they are doing, and they should be able to confidently tell that yes, the patient will receive the correct dose. I would just request all of you, if you ever get a chance, never rush in implementing the service. And later on I would be posting all my PowerPoints in this following link. You can see this presentation also. Of course, the presentation video, it is there already in the YouTube, but you can find the PDF version of my PowerPoint in this particular box link. Also, you can write to me at my email address or my WhatsApp. This is the WhatsApp number. You can ask any questions, whether related to TBA or any other topic. And you already, I have posted some 10 or 11 question and answer session in that link. You can see that. Thank you very much. I think with that I will conclude my talk.
Thank you, sir. It was a very nice lecture, a very detailed lecture. Every one of us has enjoyed thoroughly. So I want to ask one question from my side. Can we use VAC lock?
Yeah,
That is
it depends on the technique. Yes, if you are using like VMAT or anything,
yeah.
yes, you can use backlog.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, recently I treated one patient of pediatric age group for leukemia. So in
Mm-hmm.
that patient, I used that VAC lock, and as you are saying, it was very difficult for us. Actually, it took, I think, a long time to how to plan, how to do that. And what will be the difference when we are planning adult TBI and TBI in a child? What are the differences?
As I said, I have got only very limited exposure, and whatever technique that I am familiar with is the last technique that we had done. So in that we had no problems at all. Whatever, whether it is a pediatric case or an adult case, we for us the calculation remained the same, because
Okay.
we just go by the box dimensions. So it didn't pose any kind of problem or issues. The only thing, pediatric patients required anesthesia support.
Mhm.
That's all.
Yeah.
And patients were bit apprehensive initially. What we used to do, we used to have some sessions, training sessions with the patient beforehand. So we will just convince them that we are not going to do anything. We are just going to place the rice bag. Otherwise, the technique that I am familiar with, it didn't have any problem, pediatric versus adult.
Okay, sir. And one more thing, is there any dose constant that you use for dose constant difference for lungs in adults and pediatrics? Same thing.
No, again, in our technique, we never bothered. We have to accept whatever dose that is going to the midplane structure. So, if we are prescribing 12 gray, the dose that would be going will be more than that, will be around 13 or 14 or not less than 12 gray.
Okay, actually, in this child, we actually used we limited dose to lung and also to kidney.
Uh-huh. So
And
you
yeah,
followed VMAT?
yeah, we followed. We met.
Uh-huh. So I just recently spoke to one of the centers here in Delhi, and they were telling that they used 16 ISO centers, 1 6. They used 13 to 16 ISO centers.
In our
That's
case, we used two ISO centers to come.
yeah,
Actually, that was a pediatric patient.
pediatric patient.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, Dr. Sunita is asking any experience with hemibody radiation.
Hemibody radiation at All India Institute, many times we have done. In fact, every week, Saturday, there will be one or two experience, one or two cases will be there. So we had not taken any special thing. So we have just calculated what is the treatment distance. We used to make the patient lie down on a simple uh, mm, top on the floor, and then calculate what is the distance and go by SSD calculation. So hemibody radiation will not pose any problem. Do we have time? I don't know. Some of the slides were not visible. I want to show a couple of slides more. Some can I show?
Yes, sir, you can show.
I don't know why they are missing. I don't know somehow.
In high
Somehow
volume,
those.
yeah, yeah, sir, you can show. In high volume center, hemibody radiation is used, as sir has already mentioned, on every Saturday to radiate the patient. For palliation of the patient, hemibody radiation was used.
Oh,
And
oh,
Dr. Sazal is commenting in McGill technique, lung shields were used. Yeah, in McGill technique that was used.
hmm. Oh, some few slides they have got actually hidden. Yeah, here it is. Maximum field size. That was I was wondering that where these slides had gone. Somehow these have been. You can see here in that. This is the patient lying in the supine position.
Sir, your slide is not visible. You have to share.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sorry. Okay, okay. Just 1 second. Can you see?
Yeah, yeah, we can see.
So now you can see here, this is the source to isocenter distance 100 centimeter, source to skin distance 350 centimeter, and finished floor level to isocenter 125 centimeter in Electa or 130 centimeter in Varian machine. And this is the wall to uh, entrance, that is about 90 centimeter. This will be the typical setup. Now at this distance, what is the maximum field size possible? That we have to see. Now, this is one thing that you all have to be familiar with. TBIs are delivered with a gantry horizontal with 90 degree or 270 degree, field size set to 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter with the collimator rotated to 45 degrees so that you get the maximum possible field size. So how do you calculate treatment length with 40 by 40 diagonal field? I mean, you have to calculate the diagonal of the field because 40 by 40 field size rotated to 45 degrees, then you have to calculate the diagonal. So diagonal will come to 56.6. So 56.6 centimeter is at isocenter. At extended distance, say like 340 centimeter, this 56.6 will become 192 centimeter. However, the most important thing is that the corners of the 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter field are clipped. Hence, the largest field size without the corners clipped is only 35 by 35, and the diagonal for a 35 by 35 is 49.5. So you cannot have a treatment length of 192, but you can have a treatment length of 168. But in fact, it is even less than this 168 centimeter at the extended SSD. That is because you cannot use the 168 centimeter. Even though the diagonal is 168 centimeter, you cannot use this entire 168 to irradiate the patient. That is because only you can use the central 80% of the field width. That is because beyond this central 80%, there will be penumbra. So you cannot take into consideration that one. So you will be able to use only the central 80%, that is 135 centimeter. So a 40 by 40 collimator opening will in effect be able to treat 135 centimeter only at SST of 3.4 meters. This is one thing that you have to know, and I will just show in with the help of this diagram. You can see here are these pictures. You can see this is the source to wall distance 545 in our previous Saudi clinic. At 545 centimeter, edge to edge is 270 centimeter. No problems at all in irradiating a patient. However, at Fortis, where I was working earlier, because the source to wall distance 400 centimeter, 1.4 meters less, this distance 270 centimeter is reduced to 198 centimeter. And here in Manipal, where I am working, I just took this photograph few days back. You can see here source to wall distance 440, and this distance is only 218 centimeters. When I say corners clipped, you can see here the corners are clipped here. And these corners are clipped. You have to know why. If you are asking that why these corners are clipped, this these corners are clipped due to the effect of the primary collimator. Just below the target, we have got the primary collimator. The primary collimator is in the shape of a cone, inverted cone. So it is the effect of the primary collimator that actually results in this corner clipped field. So these are the figures that got missed out due to hidden slides. So now I will come back. Yeah, okay, I will stop sharing. I hope these points are clear to the listeners.
Yeah, sir, these points are clear now. Dr. Sayan, is there any question on YouTube? Dr. Sayan?
Yeah, no, madam. There aren't any questions in the chat box. I'll
Okay.
just have a look once again.
Actually, I think Dr. Ganesh, for TBI, everyone is thinking. Actually, as a being clinician, we think about how much should be the dose, what can be the toxicity, and usually we leave physics part on the physicist. We don't worry if anyone has good physicist like you, so we don't worry. And that's what happens with me also. And I think people will revise this, and I also will revise, and after that there will be certain so many questions in my mind, and I was thinking to share your presentation with my physics colleagues so that we can understand what did we do and what you are suggesting us to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, big centers like us, there is no problem. But small centers, I have
Yeah.
seen that there is a tendency to rush.
Yeah.
I have, when I talk with people, they say that they were asked to start the services in 2 days, 3 days time, and some people have used gantry from horizontal position 15 degree up, 15 degree low, just like they do for total skin electron, because room dimension is limited, so they cannot cover even at extended SST. When the patient is standing close to the primary wall, still for an adult patient, you will not be able to cover the patient from head to toe. So in that case, what they do by overlapping fields, 15 degree gantry tilted and 15 degree tilted the other way. So such type of things should not be done ideally. One will have to do lot of measurements, and whatever that you are doing for treating the patient, you will have to have a strong documented support. We should not allow outside departments to dictate a term on us. In fact happened with me also. Other departments like hematology, hemato-oncology departments asking that what is the problem? Let us start like other clinics are doing. I told them clearly that I will do it in a way when tomorrow somebody asks me, I should be able to support with the proper measurements and the documentation. So whatever I did not go through much more details. So we have a very, very long checklist just to ensure that no overlookings are done. Something like 32 checks are done before we actually start the treatment. We had a checklist for treating by that bilateral parallel approach technique.
Sir, you are very right. Actually, I think when TBI is planned, the main workload is on physicists and technologists.
Yeah.
And yes, and we people actually only precise them how to do it. And you are very right. Actually, what happened earlier also 1 month back, our hemato-oncologist said us to do it. So at that time, our physicist also said that you have to tell us 1 month before if you are planning for that. Actually, this happens.
Yes.
BMT is not planned. Yes, we have to do it today, tomorrow, and
Mm-hmm.
they also plan. So they should tell us, yes, we want to do this. So they have to inform 1 month back. Then we can plan. You are very right. We should not get precise by any hemato-oncologist, and I think our junior colleagues and should understand this, that we are doing a very important job. So
Yes.
we should consider all these things. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Dr. Sayan, over to you to
Yeah.
yeah.
So thanks a lot, sir, once again. So this was our last class for this series of lectures on medical physics. Just to make an announcement, this would be followed by a series of lectures on biostatistics. I think I've just shared the flyers and the uh, lecture classes of the days. So this would be so what we found during this series of lectures for the medical physics is that uh, as the kind of the lectures goes on and on, so with extended sessions, or probably since it was the topics were quite vast, we had almost 26 or 28 classes, I believe, 29 classes, or this is the 30th class, I believe. So, with so many classes, probably there is some sort of mental fatigue or exhaustion. So, the interest seems to be dwindling. So, for our next series of lectures, what we are planning is we want to finish it off quickly. So, we'll be doing it on 2 weekends. So, on Saturdays and Sundays, 2 hours each, so that we are able to finish it off in 4 days. So it'll be 8 hours of interactive sessions. Uh, that would be followed by another course. I think I'll be able to update you on that by tonight. So you'll be getting those flyers as well. So the statistics course would be followed by another course on critical appraisal of medical literature, which we believe is of utmost importance. So, whatever you read, how to distinguish between good evidence and low quality of evidence is of grave importance in today's day and era. So, the basic biostats class will be followed by a series of lectures on uh, the critical appraisal or critical analysis of medical literature, for which we are we have already obtained approval from foreign faculties, uh, from literally doyens in the field. So we hope to see the same amount of this enthusiasm amongst the participants. So that's all for today. Good night and goodbye.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.